Yep, I've done the same thing. I've gone and bought a car from Copart. As they say, if you can't beat them, join them. So here we are. Another car, a damaged car, which will need repairing. But we may have a bit of an advantage here because we've got a list on the back window, which has been done from a garage, I would say. And it gives us an idea of what would be required for repairs on this car. Probably, and some, or we might get away with some. But what we'll do, we'll go through the car, we'll see what we need and what it doesn't need. But what you're seeing there at the minute, it is, to be honest, I've done a bit of work on the car in terms of where I can roll it and bring the car in. I will put some pictures up to just give you an idea of what the actual damage was, but we'll go through it and take it from there. You may be able to obviously see the sort of the obvious on that side, but let's go through it and then find out what needs repairing, and we'll jack it up and take some parts off as well and see what parts will be required and so on. Right, we'll sort of start from the front end, and you probably can just about see that it's kind of sort of missed the whole of the chassis all the way there. You've got a slight dent right here, just slightly caught it. Obviously, come away, I would say that way, and it's not obviously caused major damage, just a slight sort of lip on the end, which can be obviously straightened out. Bump obviously is going to require. You can see sort of the damage around the top. Obviously, it's caught obviously the ring. You can see that a slight obviously bend here, I would say. But again, we can have a look at that further and then take it from the headlight. Obviously, is all gone, and then obviously you've got the bonnet corner, which will need repairing. Right. So one of the other sort of the damages, which is quite obvious on this, is sort of this corner. This is where the actual wheel went all the way back and caught you. And you can see just around here, there's sort of the sill area right at the bottom is sort of curled in. Ring is obviously overlapped in the door, but overall, the actual gap on the door itself is quite good. So it gives you a good idea that the door's not sort of moved back. So in other words, it's not a damage as in terms of further sort of damage where it's caused the chassis to crumble up on that side. But we will inspect it further. You probably could see a huge list which has been put here. Now this list here is obviously done by a garage will assess the damage, I was presume, for the insurance companies. Obviously, we'll go through this list, see what needs to sort of parts it requires, if we'll tallies up with that whole list. The other damage, obviously, I could see is you could probably just about see sort of the alignment of the bumper. The bumper is sticking out slightly from here. See if I can get a better angle. There you go. So there's an angle. See the bumper sticking out, and obviously you've also got this misshape around this side. Right at the bottom, I've noticed is, I believe it's this trims obviously will need resecuring on that side. I don't see a break on it, but overall, I would say the car on this side does seem like a good car, I would say. So there's no other, I can't seem to see any other damage on this car. This comes as standard, so we leave that for now. And yeah, so overall car's good. It does come obviously with a pan roof. Yeah, so that's all good and well. Well, let's go into the interior side and see how she looks there. But before I go there, obviously, as you can probably see, the car did come with obviously a dead battery. I did charge the battery up. I just sort of put it in. This is the sort of the battery it came with. I've just sort of temporarily just put the battery. I've not obviously bolted it or anything like that as such, just so that I can start it and move the car around. The car does start, which is a bonus. The good thing is the door does catch when I open when the door does catch it slightly. But in terms of interior, absolutely brilliant interior. Very nice car. As you can see, the mileage right there. Let's bring it across. Mileage there, 53,571. Obviously, it's a DSG. Very nice car. needs a bit of obviously a valet and a clean, and then you'll be ready to go really. But let's jack it up. Let's get this wheel off, and then let's see inspect it a bit further, and then see how she is. Right, we'll start from the obvious. Obviously, the wings removed now, so you can possibly see sort of the damage now a bit more clear. So we've got this damage here, which is, as I said before, on the sill. We can see how it's sort of curled up as well. So again, as I said, that will need sort of straightening out, shall I say. It shouldn't be that difficult as such. But overall, the damage around this side, it's kind of fine, really, to be fair, because obviously it's not really caught anything as such. Yes, the tires has been rubbing on there, which has taken the sort of the sealer off, but obviously that can be um, reapplied. Overall, all this side is completely sort of fine, I'll say. Then obviously you've got this bracket, which is for the wing. Obviously it needs straightening out. I don't think that would need replacing as such. This panel here, you can see, is slightly higher, I would say. Probably just needs repositioning, really straightening out a little bit and reposition it. Obviously, I did point this out to you yesterday, but however, you can also see this is slightly bent inwards. If I was to put the camera above, you can kind of see this now, how it is on this side, and how it sort of tucks um, in from that side. So that will need pulling out a little bit. Now, the parts which I removed or not removed, is obviously the bonnet. Now the reason being because the bonnet is got a dent obviously here, but there's a good possibility that that should be able to be repaired. I can't see any sort of damage on the or any kinks around here, which is which is really good to be fair. So that should be able to be straighten that out, repair it. It's definitely going to obviously need a ring. But now the as for the subframe, that's the whole subframe. I took the subframe off with obviously along with the steering rack and so on. As you guys would be aware, obviously this steering rack column obviously from inside the car bolts on right here with a pinch bolt, the 13mm takeout, and that releases it from there. Um, the problem I found on this, I can't quite find much of a damage on the actual subframe, not a severe damage as such. But what I did find, just pointing this out to you, is this here. Now that is broken and is part of the steering rack. So it's going to need a steering rack on this car, which I wasn't expecting, but here we are. So as I said, that's another cost, unexpected cost. So yeah, so that's that. And then obviously what I did find in the boot was this headlight, or what's left of it. But the good thing is it has got the ballast on the back, which can be used, and hopefully that will save from programming if they require them. That piece is just tucks in behind the sort of the wing area. So yeah, so that should be fine to use that. The other part, I'm not sure if you are able to see it. It is the dust shield. As I say, I have took it off, but if I was to buy a second-hand suspension leg for the offside, likely chances will come with it anyway. But I took it off just in case if I need to either repair it or replace it. Doesn't really matter as such. The other things that I've found or are removed is this wishbone. You can probably see it. It's completely damaged. It's all in an angle. And then obviously the disc there, you can see it's slightly scored. But as I say, discs can be replaced quite easily anyway. To be fair, that's not a problem as such. And this is suspension leg. Again, I've not really found any problems with the suspension leg, but it's sometimes very hard to tell by the eye. But it's best, as I say, if an impact occurred on that side, it's best to replace them for the argument's sake. Now, what I've done here, you probably can see, the drive shaft was actually broken. So I did mention it on, previously. So what I've done here, in order to get the car moving, to bring it in, is I took the drive shaft off and I welded the drive shaft. So I can drive the car. As I say, it's only going to be like 2 miles an hour for that, if anything, to get the vehicle into the garage. Now, also what I did was I moved I took the ball joint off from these bolts and I just put one in, moved it across, and I put one in onto these bolts here. So it moves the wheel away from the wheel arch, because this is where the wheel was catching there. So the wheel moves across slightly again so that I can use the car. Now, what we've got, as I said, mentioned before, or we'll come back to that in a minute, sorry. So we've got the obviously bumpers, you've seen that from before. Wheel arch definitely need replacing. The under tray, again, would need replacing. The bumper on the offside corner, driver side corner, is going to need most of the parts here. The parking sensor on this side is fine, which is that there, which is kind of survived. Wiring loom survived, and also the pipes for the headlight washers, they're fine. Jet covering will need replacing, but the jet itself should be fine. Obviously, when I removed the pipe, there was water in there, and which is good because then you know it's not leaking. Now, coming back to the list, now we'll work out from the actual list. As I said, this list was done from a garage, I would say, for the insurance company, as in what the cost will be involved, whether if they need to sort of categorize the car or not. So we'll go through this list and work out what is required and what's not required. Now, one of the things I've realized is the radiator side of it. There's quite a few sort of ratings on the radiator and what have you. So we'll have a look at that as well. And then we'll see from the list what we're going to need or not. Okay. Now, subframe, again, I would replace it, but as I say, I can't really see a damage on that side of it. Level sensor, I can't quite see any damage on that. So drive shaft, obviously, we know about. Drop links, best to replace them. Lower arm, we know about that. Shock absorber, we know. And it says offside hub knuckle. I'm assuming this says bearing. So as I said, that's going to come as a whole leg anyway. So yeah, there are bolts which I'm missing. So obviously I've got to work out which ones I'm missing. It says engine sump. Again, I've not got an engine oil leak or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure about that. I don't think that will need replacing as such. Offside front door, slide, flitch. I don't think, well, as I said, they're saying flitch, but it's sort of silly, isn't it, really? I mean, flitch would be, no, I can't see any damages on the actual flitch itself. But yeah, so we'll go with the rest. So right in the end, we're gonna work out roughly. I'm gonna leave this on. I'm not gonna rub it off as such. But as I say, for now, and then we're gonna work out what needs replacing. Now, the other thing I've noticed is the radiator. I can't see it. Obviously, I can't see a damage on the radiator itself, but I believe there is a leak because there's no water in the car. So we're gonna have to work that out, where the actual leak is. As for the pipes for the aircon, I can't seem to see any problem with the pipes for the aircon at all. Radiator, you probably could just about see right on this corner that it's possibly got a leak from there. So again, we'll have a look at it. Right. So yeah, so we'll end it here. So yeah, so subscribe, do the like, the usual, I'll say. And then what we'll do is get the next video out. Obviously now the game of the part finding begins. So once we've got the parts, and we'll crack on it from there and see if there's any more surprises in between. Okay, cheers. Thank you. Bye.